Hello, this is Nick here from Gorgon Reviews. I am talking with the main three individuals involved with the movie Okie. We have Kate Cobb, the director, Kevin Bigley, the writer, both of which are also acting in the movie, and Scott Michael Foster, the main character. Okie is about a successful writer returning to his hometown to deal with his father's passing, but this hometown holds his childhood friends who served as muses for the main characters in his writing, and the weird situation he now finds himself in. Thank you so much for spending time here today.
Thanks for having
Thank
us.
you.
Nick.
Starting question for everyone in the order of whoever remembers first. But what's the first movie you remember seeing in theaters?
Ooh.
Oh,
Whoa. I'm gonna go. I remember.
man.
Okay. I vaguely remember this, but it was the first the 80s Ninja Turtle movie. I was dressed up as a Ninja Turtle, I believe Raphael, and I brought my weapons and I
Back
did
in the day.
yeah,
Cool.
I brought my size
You
and
must have been like 4, Kevin. You're
yeah,
younger than me.
yeah, they shouldn't have taken me, but they did. And I recall like standing in front of the poster in like awe that I can't believe that I'm gonna get to see this movie. And then I was like doing a lot of karate and just kind of showcasing some sequences and stuff like that. So
You're
yeah.
probably amazed at
Radical,
how
bro.
realistic they all look too.
Yes, yeah. I mean the mouths moved. Yeah, it was a big deal.
That's all it takes, just the mouth movement.
It was a big deal.
Crazy.
The mouths
Big
moved,
one.
which is
Why?
incredible.
Yep. I knew Sam Rockwell was gonna be a big deal right when I saw him. Got like one line. Nah, he's
That
fine.
always surprises me when I go back and watch that. I'm like,
He's
that's
gonna
that's
be
Sam fucking
huge.
Rockwell.
There's Rockwell. Yeah.
I mean,
Go ahead and try and top that, guys.
I want to say the first one I remember, and this is embarrassing because I think this was like I was 9 when this came out, but was Jurassic Park because that was so huge when that movie came out. I don't remember anything before that. I just remember being like, I'm gonna go see Jurassic Park. I couldn't wait. I got excited all day. Was waiting for the big Jurassic
I
Park.
thought you were gonna
Yeah.
say Endgame.
It's embarrassing because this was 5 years ago.
Always been in the movies, never watched them.
I honestly, I don't remember being really young and seeing these movies, but I know that I saw like The Little Mermaid. I know that I was like just super pumped on that. Also The Lion King. I think I saw The Lion King in theaters. That was a big one for me.
Big one.
Yeah.
Lots of tears, just lots and lots of
And I
tears.
think if you take Lion King, Jurassic Park, and the Ninja Turtle movie, you have Okie. I mean,
At least the inspiration
the
for Okie.
inputs, the pieces that come
Obviously.
together to form.
Yeah.
So,
I see the picture.
yeah.
All right, for Kate and Kevin, tell me how the idea for this movie got started, besides what you just explained, of course, and how you split up your duties as director and writer.
Yeah. So we had made when we first moved to LA. So we met in college. We're married, and we had been making kind of sketch comedy together, and we worked a lot with Funny or Die, and we had been kind of working together, making things for a long time. And then our careers kind of took us in different directions, and we had kind of decided that we wanted to come back and together and make something together and make something with our friends. We missed it. And so we were talking about what we could possibly make ourselves and what we could get for free. And we thought of his hometown, which is north of Sacramento. And so Kevin wrote a short film that was set there, and we used our own money. We spent $7,000 and we shot the short film up there. And then after that, we used that as a proof of concept to get funding for the feature. Yeah.
When it comes to splitting up our duties, I think how we do that is she wins. I think it like as a writer, when it comes to film, you're pretty much kicked out of the room upon handing over the script. So if you can have a director who's like, "What do you think?" at any part of the process is incredible. But also being a producer on it, I was able to adapt and change scenes as we were approaching different locations because, like Kate said, this was written originally for my hometown, so there were specific elements of the shoot that changed. For instance, to capitalize on production value, there's a school bus in the middle of a cornfield. Hey, wouldn't that be nice to have a scene for? Too bad I didn't dream that scene ahead of time. We had to change it for a scene that was already in place. So yeah, we we collaborate, and ultimately, as a writer, when you get to hand your movie off to or your screenplay off to somebody who wants to make the same thing that you want to make, it's a great position to be in.
Scott, first of all, I can say that Greek is probably the only show I have seen from ABC Family. Whatever the channel's
Sure.
called now, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. And I didn't even recognize you as the same person on the Crazy Ex-Girlfriend show. That's more of a me problem, probably.
I cut my hair. I cut my hair.
All of that out of the way, how did you get involved with this project?
Yeah, Kevin and I met on a feature that we shot in Utah, back in the pandemic days. And so we were splitting the upstairs of a garage, I believe, is where that's where we were put up. So yeah, we got acquainted, and then I don't know, like 6, 7 months later, he asked me if I wanted to go up and do the short film with him. And so I said yes. And then the year after that, we did the feature. And I'm going to make the same joke, you
Go for
guys.
it.
Here we go.
Next, we're going to do Okie the video game. And
I
who
he,
knows what happens after
he's
that,
been
you know?
he's been throwing that one out there all day, and it's getting
Joke.
funnier,
Funnier and
funnier,
Yep,
and
yep,
funnier.
yep.
Yeah, I thought I was a writer, Scott.
Yeah, no, not anymore. It's me, buddy. Also, when you have to explain your jokes constantly, that really
Feels good, right?
Honestly,
makes
the
it.
explanation of them is getting funnier than the
That
actual.
that's right. That's
I
right.
think I think every time you tell that joke, you should just lean closer and closer to the camera every
Ah.
time.
Uh,
We're sorry,
Kate,
Nick.
no, go for it. I'm the one who's not supposed to talk that much. Kate, you started out as an actress first and been just transitioning into some director roles now. Was that always your goal, or just something you found a passion for later?
Yeah, so I starting as an actor, I think that was kind of always since I was a kid what I thought I wanted. And it turns out that I was kind of more interested in filmmaking as a whole rather than just like one part of the filmmaking. So for me, it was about kind of leaning into what my skill set actually is. I think I always joke that like I have the heart of an artist, but my brain is like a little bit more corporate. And so I tend to like that side of things as well. And that makes it kind of hard to be an actor in a lot of ways because there's a lot of being an actor is a lot of like waiting around and waiting for people to choose you and hoping that you can be part of things you like. And that's just not doesn't work with my brain. So for me, filmmaking and directing is like I always say it felt like slipping into that role felt like putting on the right size shoes for the first time in my life. Like it was, it's something that both stimulated my heart and my brain. So it was something that I found pretty like late into my acting career. So I would say it was kind of a change of career for me around my like early 30s or mid 30s. So yeah, I think it was something that kind of was always knocking on the door, but I had to mature a lot before I could let it in. So yeah, happy I found it.
Kevin, you've obviously written things before and jokes on Funny or Die or Parked, but how different was it to write an entire feature-length film? Was there anything specifically that was a bigger struggle for this?
I had sold a feature just before this, so that gave me a little bit of confidence. But I think this was written so quickly in a great way because I felt like this was more of an exercise, especially in the short of like writing something that I knew. And it felt so validating and energizing to write with the locations from my hometown that like that felt like taking something a scene to the races felt incredible. Like it was such I was on a high when I was writing it for that stuff. So I felt very connected to it, more connected to it than I've been connected to anything. But yeah, I think that it's obviously a lot more difficult to kind of stick that third act, than compared to the third act of the Funny or Die sketch. And the jokes and tonal balancing and stuff, like there's a lot of humor in this, I think, especially the first half, but then figuring out how to balance that tone to where it just doesn't all fall apart was a real struggle. But Kate's really good, especially at keeping an eye on things when I'm handing stuff in. So she was reading drafts as I was, so she has a very good ear for tone.
Scott, I think I know the answer to this, but what was the hardest part for you in filming this movie? like a specific scene or area.
Nick, what would you say?
You had
Yeah.
to guess.
What would
I'll
I
tell you if you're
say?
right.
I'm just assuming dunk tank, but I don't
You
know.
got
That could
it.
have all been
You
stunt
got
doubles.
it.
Who knows?
Bullseye.
Yeah, in the movie from the dunk tank until the hospital was pretty rough because it was getting dunked in cold water, it was getting covered with fake blood, it was running under bridges covered in fake blood or being
Spoiler.
soaking wet in the well, yeah,
People are
we-
gonna be so
In the
confused.
trailer.
Like fake blood, lots of fake
Um,
blood, puppets, you know.
The
So-
spoiler
Yeah.
is the blood was fake, not that it was.
Yeah.
going to space was also tough to film.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah,
We
but
had
you
to
gotta watch the movie to understand.
You'll get it.
Anyway, yeah, no, you're right. The dunk tank was tough. And also I just remembered when we were talking about this a minute ago. Uh, I I run away from the dunk tank at the end of that scene, and as we were shooting that, I fell and I landed on
Right.
my hand and I cut my hand open,
That's right.
right? But I was covered in blood, fake blood, so I couldn't tell that I was bleeding. And I was like, I think I'm hurt, but I already look like I'm really
Like,
hurt.
shut up,
So-
get back in the water.
Like, all right, well, whatever. I go back in, and I still have a little scar from that day. But anyway, yeah, that
We
was a tough.
used
That was a
that
tough.
blood with the
For
other
the
blood.
rest of my
Yeah.
body.
That's called
I just-
method acting.
It saved us
so-
a lot of money.
Yeah.
Run out of
In-
blood. So you're
in
like,
corn
well,
syrup
A
blood.
good $12, yeah, which is huge for an indie.
So what you're saying is you're just like Leonardo and Django. When
That's
you cut
right.
your-
Yeah,
exactly
that
what
was
he's
still
saying.
used
People
in the
say
film,
that.
you kept
People
it
say that
going.
all the time about
Yeah,
me
they're
and
like-
my
Yeah.
performances.
they're called Scott. Scott usually says that about himself.
Yeah, I do. I usually make that. I'm surprised I haven't made that reference yet.
He just held his hand. You know, this is a lot like Leonardo and Django.
Scott, we're still rolling. What the hell?
Kate, similar question, but what was the hardest part about directing this first feature-length film for you?
I mean, just having the confidence to go in and direct a feature, your first feature, is really it's really hard. So there's a lot of like mental blocks of like, am I good enough to do this? You know, am I prepared enough? Am I enough to lead a team? Am I worthy of leading a team? So I think there was a lot of like internalized doubts that I had that made it difficult. I am a very I love pre-production, so I prep very, very intensely. And so when it comes to the actual doing, like making of the movie, I knew exactly what I wanted, what I needed. And so that part of it, while arduous, was not hard in that way. So I think it was mostly just kind of dealing with my own internalized doubts and fear, and also not seeing a ton of female filmmakers my age. So there wasn't a ton of representation that I could pull from. And so, yeah, it was breaking through a lot of like that I would say was the most difficult, but also the most rewarding. So.
Kevin, your character seemed pretty buff in this film.
Thank you.
Was that from the millions of CGI budget that went into the movie, or was that some special workout routine you had to do to prepare?
I would bench press Scott before every take, and then just do some shoulder presses. We were actually in a pandemic, like still, so we couldn't even use the like we were using the hotel gym very cautiously. So and I still managed to just get to stay huge. So
Yeah, I would see you like at 10 o'clock at night being like, hey, just want to touch base about tomorrow's scenes. And you'd be chugging a fucking like 40-gram protein shake at 10 o'clock at night.
yeah,
Keep the muscles up, and then rip out 100 push-ups.
yeah. I thought it was.
Yeah.
I thought, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was so funny to the way that like we enhanced that with the costuming, with like low cut and everything. Like the way that I think it's just such a great like dichotomy to have the two of us like sharing a screen, because Scott, we talked about this a lot, that Scott's really good at playing uneasy and uncomfortable, and then I'm just so like confident and like pushing him, throughout the entire movie. So whether it be from an acting standpoint or physically, it was really fun.
This last final question I wrote a while ago now, so it might be a weirder answer or question, but what's your favorite aspect about small towns in the middle of nowhere?
Oh.
Yeah, I know. Isn't it funny how things change? Um,
I'm struggling for an answer.
I would say their influence. No,
The power that they have.
yeah.
We love small towns. We live currently in a small town. We live in a small mountain town outside of LA, Lake Arrowhead. So we both like we're from blue collar families, and there's a lot to love about small town life. I love knowing everybody at the grocery store. I love just like the whole kind of community feel of those places. And when we were shooting this movie, we also had like the most amazing support from the places that we were shooting in like DeKalb and Creston and Rochelle and all those areas. The people there are so kind, and loved that the movie was there, which is a stark difference from when you're trying to shoot in LA. So we loved shooting a small town.
Yeah, it seems like everybody in that town was just like, "Oh, you guys are doing the movie, cool." Everyone knew about it, and everyone was excited. Like you said, in LA, it's like no one gives a crap that you're shooting on. In fact, they were like, "Get off our street," you know. So
Yeah, right.
you go to a town that like really cares and is excited that you're there is means something.
Yeah.
The butcher shop they like shut down the whole street for our rap parties. Like I think with small towns, it's that you can hide from the national element of things sometimes and engage in your community and care person to person. Because I even think on both sides that there are people who kind of tend to, I know this is like we're fresh off of this, but tend to characterize. But when you can be person to person and talk to them, that stuff, a lot of times goes away.
Mhm.
So that's what I think we really appreciated about it was just person to person connection in that place. And I think that's with Louis. Louis has lost all sense of who those people are, and them even painting him as Lucky Louis, right? Like they all have their characterizations. So
Good save, everybody. Once again, thank you so much for spending your time answering some questions about them.
I'm sweating.
Okie.
Can't off the ropes on that one, Nick.
Okie comes out, I guess, now tomorrow, Friday, November 8th on VOD. Check it out when you can.
Thanks, Nick.
Thank you, Nick.